So this is your Fuso starting grid for race 22. Jason Bright, his second pole position of the year. Alongside him, Jamie Whincup, second in the championship. Craig Lowndes, third, dropped 2 spots based on that penalty. Scott McLaughlin alongside Craig. Then the 2 HRT cars, they've been alongside each other basically all weekend. Van Gisbergen looks strong in P7. Nick Percat, we just spoke to Nick, he's done a great job all weekend. Chaz Mostert drove very well yesterday to hold Craig Lowndes off. Tim Slade in position 10. Will Davison, Mark Winterbottom, remember the series leader, 144 points in front of Jamie Whincup. 13 and 14. Dave Reynolds then, P15, Caruso in 16. Scott Pye alongside James Moffat. Nissans haven't been strong this weekend. The race pace is okay, but their qualifying performance is nowhere near good enough. Ingle alongside Perkins, Robert Dahlgren and Rick Kelly in that new livery celebrating the 300 from Jack Daniels. David Wall and Dale Wood, and at the back of the field with a 4-spot grid penalty is Todd Kelly. We just spoke to Todd a second ago. Brett?
Oh, Scapey, every track around the country has a great place to watch from, and this is it in Townsville. Take a look at this view. Turn 7, turn 8, turn 9. Thousands of great friends, beautiful sunshine, not a cloud in the sky. There is nowhere else you would want to be. Look, I'm going to declare it now. This is the best spot in Australia to watch a V8 supercar race. There you go. These guys are ready to go. Good on your team. Bring it on, guys. We're ready.
Mark Beretta there, playing very much to the audience, but it is a cracking day there at the moment. That is a good spot down there around that area of the racetrack. The cars are dancing and sliding. Remember, they've got more than 600 horsepower. They weigh a little less than 1.5 tonnes. And look at the reaction here of the crowd. The cars come around. Jason Bright's going to have the eyes on. It was a really nice job. When he gets it right, Jason, he really gets it right. That was a very good job today, because the difference between even qualifying and the shootout for him was enormous. They made a little change to the engine mapping on that car and it helped enormously. Let's get down again with Mark Larkham.
Yeah, I want to try and give you some perspective down here, Neil. I mean, you look at a grid sheet all day, but look what we've got here. We talk about the aggro. There's Craig Lowndes. He had aggro with Scotty McLaughlin, who's over beside him. Right behind him, the biggest aggro with those 2 HRT cars. Just back a little while, you see the FPR cars, including our championship leader. And do not forget Shane Van Gisbergen, that yellow car right in amongst them. 220 kilometres an hour when they put their foot on the brakes down here. Get yourself a drink, sit back, enjoy.
That's the championship scenario. The man on screen's 144 points up on Whincup, who's on the march. It's 88 laps, 250 kilometres. There'll be a minimum of 2 stops. They add 140 litres. It's an explosion of horsepower. Bright's on the pole. And flinches and is gone. Jason Bright, a beautiful start. There's his teammate Fabian Coulthard buried in the pack. Lowndes a good start as well. Looks like he might have grabbed second. He's tucked right behind Bright. Whincup argues round the outside. He's going the long way. There's trouble. Somebody's in the fence at the back of the pack. It's Dale Wood. Dale Wood's got a disaster going. He'll go down the escape road. And there he goes.
Jack
Perkins is the other car involved in that. What a shame for Jack. Back to the lead. It's Bright. Then it's Whincup. Then it's Lowndes. Tander. The Volvo's on the inside of James Courtney.
Tander had a monstrous move down the inside at turn 2 on Craig Lowndes. They all bumped. They got through there. Great driving. I thought that was going to be the contact from yesterday at turn 2. Safety car being called. Just checking that now for you. And that's because the 2 cars are down the escape road at turn 2. Now, there's been a little bit of drama there. I think it's Tander, and I'm sorry, it's Courtney.
And you'll see an immediate reaction in the pit lane. People will use this as an opportunity, depending on their starting fuel, to squeeze the first of the 140 litres of United E85 into the cars. Big pile of cars have come in. And I wonder whether or not there was an illegal pass there. That chopper shot showed the Volvo going underneath James Courtney, but it would depend on the flag deployment.
That's right.
Look at this, we've got Bright, Lowndes, Tander, Courtney, Van Gisbergen, Mostert, it's a roll call, Percat, Winterbottom, Slade, Reynolds, Caruso, Coulthard, a dead set 2/3 of the field.
But the interesting one, Croppo, is that Mark Winterbottom's going to have to stack because Mostert's in and so is Winterbottom. So that'll make him stack. Now, although he's got the whole race to come back from that, he will lose positions relative to the field. So for the championship leader, let's take a really quick look at it, because Mostert, you can see there at the bottom of shot,
he's sitting there.
Mostert's in the garage, he's being serviced, and Winterbottom behind, parked up. He's actually lost a spot to Dave Reynolds and two others that have just driven by.
All of those 5 cars are going to grab him, so he'll end up behind the DJR car here. So this has been triggered by the drama down into turn 2, involving Dale Wood and Jack Perkins. Second day in a row that Jack Perkins has had some damage. There is his car, wounded, right-hand corner of that car, looking a bit second-hand. And Dale Wood is a little bit further off to the right of screen there. Across the Ross Creek, the chopper shows the view from above here. We'll use the opportunity to take a break. They're under the control of the Petters Chrysler safety car.
They're going to be conserving fuel, okay, so they're going to be tight to the end. So conserving fuel, they're going to struggle, some will struggle to get all the fuel in the minimum fuel. So we just need to go as hard as we can, brother.
That's the scene from above Townsville. Welcome back to our coverage. It's early days. There's already been a safety car because of a problem on the opening lap between Dale Wood and Jack Perkins. Here's the replay of the start. Nice jump from Jason Bright. Whincup tried to go around the outside. It's the onboard shot for the replay. Further back in the field, there was some dodging and weaving going on, and a couple of guys have made contact, and they went straight ahead down here at turn 2.
This is James Courtney. That's Garth Tanner. Now, Tanner dives straight down the inside. This is where I thought there was going to be a problem. They didn't make contact. So now outside, we'll have a look. Now, that was Jack around the outside of Dale Wood. At least that explains how that crash happened. But they did a very good job to get through here.
Now, this is the modern mystery. Ford Performance Racing have ended up in a situation where they've had to queue their cars. So Winterbottom had to sit and wait for Chaz Mostert. And that'll probably, I'm guessing, be a miscommunication. Is this a problem here for Jason Bright? We're looking at a replay. And we also know that James Courtney had to sit in queue as well. So as a result of that, Courtney and Winterbottom are down the order. Courtney's 18th. Mark Winterbottom is down in 20th. And I doubt very much whether that was tactical. I think they've just ended up having arrived in the same spot at the wrong time.
Well, yeah, I don't know. At least they've got the whole race to make that back. But again, if the positions were around the other way and Mostert was behind Winterbottom, that would sort of make sense. But when you're the series leader and and you get sunken into 20th. He started 12th into 20th position. Then you just get back and you have drama. Larko?
Yeah, well, let's just ask Timmy Edwards' teammate, sorry to interrupt there. Never better evidence of what a horrible thing double stacking can be. We know you've got to qualify ahead of your teammate, but very unfortunate for the championship leader.
Look, it's not great at all, but, you know, 85 laps to go. So similar to Darwin, where everyone wrote us off at the sort of 20-lap mark. We've got 85 laps to get back in this race.
That's the attitude, mate. Well done.
Well, that's a good answer.
And while that was going on, I only half intercepted the message, but I think that there's a drive-through penalty for James Moffat for spinning wheels in the pit lane. So car number 360, Nissan Hornet entry, James Moffat had a difficult run yesterday. He wasn't thrilled with the balance of the car. Look at Van Gisbergen on Lowndes, last corner, arguing and swapping paint. And Van Gisbergen makes it stick, but only just. He'll be on the outside when they go through the kink of the front straight. He'll have to go the long way. Lowndes has reclaimed some turf here. Lowndes' teammate Whincup is leading. Gizzy goes back to the inside to make a race of it. Oh, Lowndes down the inside of Tanner, had to use a lot of curbing. In fact, did Lowndes end up all the way to the right of the curb?
I'm not sure whether he had the whole lot or not. We'll see if we can pick that up for you, but it was a big dive. Lowndes was originally covering Van Gisbergen, but he ended up so deep that he ended up down the inside.
Problem here for Jason Bright, spinning wheels in the stop. That is going to incur the attention of race control and invariably be a problem. So here's that replay from above. So watch Lowndes. He ended up with the whole car up on top of the curb there. As it turned out, he didn't actually make the pass on Garth Tanner anyway. Had he made that pass, that might have been something scrutinised pretty carefully.
Wow.
Brad Jones would just quickly interrupt. We've just seen the replay of Jason Bright during that pit stop there. The wheels were clearly spinning, but it was at a different time to what we normally see in a pit stop. And we just had the radio call there that he's got a drive-through penalty for that one.
Look, I don't know. We'll wait and see what happens. But for me, the stop hadn't actually started. You know, I think there's a difference between the wheels spinning before you actually pull a wheel off, as opposed to spinning during the stop or at the end. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens.
I just had the radio call through my ears and it's come up on the screen now, so he has got the pit lane infringement.
Yeah, well, it's very frustrating. It's going to make it a long day for us, but let's see what happens. There's a long way to go.
Thanks, Brad.
Fabian Coulthard, meanwhile, the teammate to Brad Jones is down the inside. James Courtney, oh, not much road there. You can see that. That was very close as they get through the little kink before turn 5. We're on board now with Mark Winterbottom, looking at the back of the HRT Commodore. And as I said, there was no road left between Fabian and the wall. This is now around into turn 10, that bad bump that we mentioned over the weekend. 180 kilometres an hour mid-corner speed there, up to 210k. And we've seen some action here also at turn 11 over the weekend with some late braking, overtaking manoeuvres. And this is the spot where we saw Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes and Shane Van Gisbergen make little mistakes in qualifying. Very difficult final corner to end the lap. This is tragic for Jason Bright. It's a day when you're on pole position, you're front row of the grid, you've got good pace, and a little mistake in the pit stop, you get a drive through. And this is what I say all the time about this game, a very cruel sport. The face of Brad Jones tells the story.
So Bright serves his penalty. There's a bit of emotion on the radio there from Jason Bright. You can see the frustration in the pits at Brad Jones Racing, but the telling story there basically with the replay image is unfortunately the wheels are rotating, and the reason for this ruling, watch carefully here, and around it goes. The reason for the ruling is that they don't want any safety compromise for people working on the back of the car. Andrew Edwards, their engineer on the right-hand side, senior engineer Wally Story in the background, they know the deal. Frustrating though it is, had to unfortunately serve a penalty there. So Whincup is the leader of the race. 1.8 seconds is the gap. He's the fastest man through Sector 1 on this lap, Sector 2 on this lap, and now as a result he's got the fastest lap of the race, 1:14.2. This is Tim Slade down the inside at turn 11. Nice job. Now, Tim is in 19th at the moment. There's 6 cars yet to take a stop in this race, and they include Whincup, McLaughlin, Pye, Holdsworth, Davison, Dahlgren, and Tander is the first in the queue who's actually taken a stop. And there was a lot of radio chat with him after about just managing fuel carefully between here and the end of the race, but he's in pretty good shape there at the moment, Garth Tanner. There he is on screen.
Well, he was very impressive yesterday, and they're certainly back from a holding standpoint, back on the right trajectory in terms of the factory team and the car speed. And from yesterday's race 21 performance, Garth was the fastest car in the race at that time. So not only did they have good strategy and good race pace, there's the inner sanctum of HRT talking about what their strategy is going to play out like in this race. As Neil said, he's the leader based on having made one stop. Car 888 pit stop incident also under investigation. So I don't know what pit stop incident means, but for Craig Lowndes, it's been a shocking weekend as we go on board again with Tim Slade, who is in 19th position and has served one of those 2 compulsory stops.
Great shot here from the side of Tim's car. Just shows the proximity to the wall. You've got to use every last millimetre to open up the corner radius and try and make the most of those corners and keep the rolling speed up.
It's all happening just up in front, because we were just there before. We were talking about Courtney and Fabian, and now Courtney's got by Fabian, and we were on board with Mark Winterbottom when that happened, as in the very close proximity through turn 5, or a little kink before turn 5. He's got that manoeuvre made. But still some aggro. Now Van Gisbergen coming up to put a move on Dahlgren. Dahlgren is 8th. He hasn't made a stop. Shane has. Craig Lowndes just in front, and Tander just in front a little bit up the road further. So there's Mark Winterbottom in behind Shane Van Gisbergen. Both of these guys have got very, very good race pace, and they were very strong yesterday. It's a great shot from our Coates Hire chopper down on the second of the Volvo S60s. And this is the western end of the racetrack. This is the street circuit end. And as you come out of here, you make your way across the Ross River into the proper parkland track.
So they're urging Van Gisbergen to try and clear Dahlgren as soon as they can. They want to try and get some clear air there because he's under threat from Mostert. We'll take a quick break. Jamie Whincup continues to punch out fastest laps. On the last lap, he did it again. He's down into the low 14s, a 1:14.1, and he's eked out a margin now of just on 3 seconds. Super slow-mo replay shows his style. It's McLaughlin second, Scotty Pyers in third. Welcome back to the Castrol Townsville 500. Jamie Whincup is the leader. There's a discussion going on inside the garage at Red Bull Racing Australia at the moment. There's Damien White from V8 Supercars in the background, and he's having a conversation. They're all having a conversation. It's a seance there at the moment, trying to work out what they're doing. But there's a question mark about the number of people that were working on the car during the stop. Roland Dane came in there for a quick conversation with David Cauchi, and there's Jeremy Moore, engineer, on the right. We're going to follow that. Remember, there was a little flag came up on the race management channel before that they're under investigation for the Craig Lowndes stop. Mark made reference to it. But Whincup at the moment's got a margin of almost 4 seconds. Here's the replay of the stop. Okay, so it's the car controller actually handling the wheel and clearing the passage. And somebody along the pit lane will have seen it and reported them, is the way it works. And so they're now looking into the rules to decide whether that's right, wrong or indifferent.
So we just put up a graphic a second ago about the 3 fastest laps, and Jamie Whincup had done 3 fastest laps that were 14.1, 14.1, 14.2. This is what he does. When he's got clean air and he gets to the lead, he is so strong. Dahlgren there, he was struggling to get in the pit lane.
All the poor bloke wanted to do was pull off and
take a break,
get out of the fast lane. He's copying an airboxing. Gone and had a dig through in the sporting regs just to get, and this is not the first time we've been down this passage, in relation to the car controller. The car controller must not undertake any work at all on the car in the pit stop, and must at all times maintain full control of the pit stop and all the team's pit personnel and the car's movements into the pit bay and out into the fast lane.
Waiting for fuel and ice.
I'm tipping that this argument will be, is a wheel the car? Ooh, bit of dry ice on the road there. It's been fired into the car to keep the driver cooling system functioning correctly, but it looked a bit evil on the road there, didn't it?
Certainly did. So I made reference before about those 3 fastest laps, and when he's in clear air, Neil, we often say about the way he drives the car. He drives it hard, he drives it straight, he's meticulous in terms of the positioning of the car, and he's the benchmark guy based on his performances over the last few years, and he's just snuck away. Richard Holway is saying to Scott McLaughlin, push hard now, mate, because you can use those tyres that he's got on the car, you can use them up. And as you can see, 0.4 of a second on that lap, and he's just getting away, 4.4 second lead.
We're showing you the gaps here. There's Van Gisbergen 7th, Mostert, Caruso, Percat 10th, David Reynolds. This is a traffic jam. Russell Ingall, James Courtney's old mate Rick Kelly. There's Mark Winterbottom, Tim Slade, Fabian Coulthard. These are championship contenders. There'll be a post-race investigation. We've just been advised by race control in relation to the car 888 pit stop infringement. Post-race investigation. In other words, the debate's going to rage on as everybody expands on their viewpoints. Steve Robertson and Frank Adamson, both from V8 Supercars, discussing the rule book there. We had a shot before of Damien White, who's the Director of Sport, Operations, Sanctioned Events and Starter. He needed a bigger business card for that title. It's on an A4 piece of paper now for Damo. But he was in a discussion inside the Red Bull garage about it, and all eyes were on this man, Craig Lowndes, who, as Mark pointed out a little bit earlier, has been having one of, inverted commas, those weekends. He's battling at the moment with Shane Van Gisbergen. They're in a battle for 6th and 7th.
Second of the guys that stopped, and continue to look after those fuel numbers and tyres.
There's quite a few drivers being told up and down the field to manage their fuel numbers. In other words, just to try and drive to a consumption number. We love these onboard rides. It's James Courtney, car number 22, that we're riding with into turn 2. Let's settle back and enjoy it.
Great job, mate. Still a lot of laps to go, mate. A lot of laps.
That was a passing move there, James Courtney on Russell Ingall at the final turn. Our observation in the booth was that Russell was very kind to him. He gave him plenty of space. They're old mates. They've had a bit of ag from time to time. But that was a good exchange. Gives you an idea of what it's like. And it's very early days in this race for those guys, so they've got to be super careful when they pull those moves. Can't afford to make a mistake and drawn to that car. Whincup's the man at the moment. 5.2 seconds is the gap back to Scotty McLaughlin, then Scott Pye, Will Davison. They yet to take a stop. Garth Tanner has, and everybody behind him, including Lowndes, Van Gisbergen, Mostert, Caruso and Percat. That's your 10. Here's the focus for the battle, 6th and 7th at the moment. Post-race investigation for Craig Lowndes, Red Bull Racing Australia. The question mark, did the car controller infringe by touching that wheel that was on the ground? He did it to clear the passage for Craig Lowndes to be able to depart that pit lane unchecked. Marco?
Yeah, Neil, I've just been having a good long chat with a quite agitated Roland Dane, the team principal at Triple Eight Racing. And, mate, you're on the money in this view. The car controller was making safe passage for the car, not increasing its performance, not influencing its performance. So I reckon there's going to be a battle at the end of the day.
There's been a 1 or 2 this weekend. There'll probably be a few more before the afternoon is done. Mark Larkham reporting.
Still clear. Go, go.
This is Will Davis and Carter Manai in Erebus Motorsport. And remember yesterday, an unsafe release for those guys because he launched into the path of Michael Caruso. That created some aggravation. That is a beautiful sight. Looking east from Townsville across the magnetic island. Coastline looks fantastic, and so does the quality of the racing. We'll come back with more of it. It's lap number 20 of 88, the Castrol Townsville 500, driven by TAFE Queensland, and that's a great overhead shot looking at the eastern end of the paddock across the top of those curbs. The cars are flying through there at the moment, and remember that TAFE Queensland celebrating the tradespeople. There's a number of them being placed around this event this weekend and contributing to all that's going on: mechanics, hospitality, marketing, events, television, commercial, public relations, hair and beauty for Mark Skate, for example. Now, post-race investigation also for car number 34 here. So Robert Dahlgren crossing the blend line. I think we were watching at that point when he was trying to get in, but part of the problem there is getting muscled by everybody.
Well, he couldn't get across. I mean, we were actually watching at that stage. He couldn't get across. So you can't hang the car off sky hooks to put it in the pit lane. So at the end of the day, Robert may be penalised, but that's probably a little unfair. It is the rule, but terms of application. That's how it is. David Reynolds now.
Flat left rear tyre.
Yep.
We've seen a couple of flats for these guys, and easily done on the curbing around here. It's going to put him all the way to the bottom of this field.
We were following Rick Kelly. We were on board with Mark Winterbottom, and it was really great evidence of how aggressive those curbs are and how bumpy it is also through turn 10. Shock absorbers get a torrid time at this racetrack, and the way they ride the bumps and ride the curbs is almost the essence of how you make the car work at this racetrack.
This is obviously a drama when you've got to bring the car in unscheduled with a problem like that, but the other drama here is they can't get home from this point either. So remember the critical lap that Mark Larkham spoke about in his proper racing line, Penwright, 44 laps.
Were you listening?
I was listening. I always listen to Larko's chat. So here we go, Van Gisbergen down the inside here of Craig Lowndes. That's for position number 5. So that means that Reynolds will have to come back in to grab more United ethanol to be able to get home from there. Whincup, McLaughlin, High, Tander, Van Gisbergen.
Guys, the Craig Lowndes pit stop incident really has an impact on the top 3 drivers in the championship. So Tim Edwards, your nemesis Roland Dane next door, is saying that the car controller was doing the right thing to make safe passage for the car. Is that a good enough excuse?
Sounds like a rubbish excuse to me. Please, Your Honour, you know, that's the rule's pretty clear cut. There's no greyness in it about making safe passage. I mean, you know, you could argue that whether there's a bit of tape on the car, which they've been pinged for before. I mean, the car controller's job is pretty clear. He could have got on the radio, said to one of the other crew members, need to move this tyre. You know, he's not supposed to touch the car, so no, it's not a good enough excuse.
Thank you.
Tim Edwards, team principal, Pepsi Max Ford Performance Racing, and you would expect him to say that. Remember, cast your mind back to Adelaide, and there was all that car controller kerfuffle there at the beginning of the year. So everybody's looking. It's a Hawkeye situation up and down the lane. If you make one little mistake, there'll be somebody there, and they fire. The local area network, the land is alive with carping. People just taking shots at each other constantly. And if you look sideways at the moment, there's someone there to grab you.
So you're not confused. We're still on board with Mark Winterbottom, but he's got by Rick Kelly. He's looking back. So that's Mostert down the inside of Craig Lowndes. Now, Craig Lowndes is actually driving to a fuel number at the moment, so he's come back a little bit. We're now on board with Rick with this crazy camera up the side of his helmet, looking down at the steering wheel and controls. You see the number there, the gear number on your left. He's got a brake bias number on there. He's got a lap datum on there, and he's got front and rear anti-roll bar numbers on the bottom. It also gives him each lap time as he goes by. And that's the little change. He makes that gear change in the middle of the complex between 4 and 5. So does James Courtney. Not everybody does it, but they do it to give the car better engine response, so it lifts it up in its rev range. Look at the oversteer through 10. We saw him yesterday give the wall a little rub there. That would have been close if we were looking outside.
It's not a good place to wag the tail, because on the outside of you, they're only millimetres away, giant concrete blocks that are all interlinked. Larko.
Yeah, well, I've managed to grab Damien White now. He's one of our key players in V8 supercars, and I want to show Damien the vision that we've had the luxury of seeing. Damien, if you just want to have a look here on the screen, this is what happened up here with Craig Lowndes in his pit stop. Now they're going to come into the pit lane. Now remembering you can only have a certain amount of guys across the line, we know that, but one of the roles, the key guy is the car controller. We might have to wait for that, sorry mate, we might keep chatting before it gets there. But it happens up here at Craig Lowndes' pit stop. The car controller at the front of the car, responsible for the stop, but not responsible for any of the other activity on the car. Watch this, Damo. And he comes, there's the wheel. Car controller, see, he's not going to move the wheel. Now, I've spoken to Roland Dane. There's an argument there that he's making safe passage for the car to exit. Where do you read that? How do you read that?
There's two things in the rule which you can see. I mean, it's quite long. It's half a page. The first thing is you can't work on the car. And if we go back to Clipsville where the Triple Eight team were penalised, they were deemed to have worked on the car. Clearly, there's no contact with the car here. The other thing that car controller is responsible for is a safe execution of a pit stop. So in this case, the IO has determined, let's have a look at it after the race. It's not like, let's not make a rush decision. We'll look at all of the facts, determine, does that constitute working on a car? Or does it constitute making sure that the stop was safe? That's what they'll be looking at after the race.
Thanks, Damo, and well read, Neil Crompton. I reckon you're on that at the start, pal. Well done.
Thanks, boys. Damien White there from V8 Supercars and Mark Larkham, and it'll be lawyers at 10 paces at the end of the day as they try and figure out that. What this does, everybody, is it highlights just how much pressure everybody is under. They're trying to eke out every last little point, and if anybody flinches and even dares to suggest that they may have infringed in some way, shape or form, bang, they are on top of them. It's 144 points between Winterbottom and Whincup in the championship. Winterbottom's currently 12th. Whincup is leading. Do you think there's some edge between Red Bull and Ford Performance Racing?
Plenty.
Correct. Correct answer.
Thank you. So we've got 9 in-car cameras covering the field for you today, and we're on board with Rick Kelly a minute ago. We've been on board with Mark Winterbottom. We've been on board with James Courtney. We're now on board with Scott Pye. What a great shot that was from up above. Scott looking back down at his workplace. And this is turn 2. Quite a bumpy braking area. And the way that he gets out of there, he's just a little bit of oversteer. Lowndes is in the pit as we speak.
Look under the bonnet here, mate, and do some rear tyres.
Why would they be looking under the bonnet? This is unusual, and it's definitely non-standard.
Overheating.
They're jamming some water into it.
Yeah.
That's the way.
Well done. That'll reduce the front downforce on that car.
So there's blanking in there that they've removed. They need the car to breathe better. So I intercepted some Lowndes chat earlier that was suggesting water temp.
Yeah, well, I was hearing drive it to a fuel number, but then I heard you say that there was something else going on.
Well, this is an issue.
So they're pressurising the water to go in, and this is a shocking weekend for Craig Lowndes. It just shows the difficulties of trying to win a championship.
They mustn't have had pressure in that bottle, or if they did, they didn't have enough of it. So all of the other discussion about touching that wheel, that will still be investigated, but it's over and out for Craig Lowndes. He's at the tail end. He's 23rd. Remember that Dale Wood and Jack Perkins went out on the first lap, so he's last.
So the first of the people that have actually made a stop is Garth Tanner at 4th. Whincup leads from McLaughlin, Pye, then Tander, Van Gisbergen, who we saw, and Mostert pass Craig Lowndes in the last couple of laps. Just check, this is water.
No, it's hemorrhaging.
Yeah,
it's throwing water out, so it's got some other drama going on there at the moment. So they took some radiator blanking out. We'll get back down to the lane with Barrett's.
Guys, just with Jeremy Moore. Jeremy, what's happening with Craig's car?
I've got an engine issue. It's overheating. I think it's losing water out the back. So tough luck again for us today. We've started well, but it's not to be. We've got a bit of a leak. We'll try to manage it to the end. It's getting too hot. And fingers crossed we can get some decent points, but it's not looking good.
It's been a hard weekend.
It has been a hard weekend. We've had some pace, but the luck's not been out on our side. So hey, fingers crossed the rest of the year we can have some decent luck and get some wins, and maybe we might end up there somewhere in the championship, but it's looking good. Good luck. Thanks, mate.
Keeps making tea like this and boiling water. It'll weld itself up, and he'll be out of business. So there's probably $100,000 odd worth of engine at stake there. They'll be looking at it on the telemetry, but race control's now noticing this because it's fluid going onto the racetrack, which is a no-no. This will put Craig Lowndes in danger of losing his 3rd in the championship. It's a lot of water. And Fabian Coulthard, who's within striking distance, is 14th. Look at the deflection on that Dunlop hard left rear tyre there as well. And just...
I can't see them being able to make that. Even if you pull the rad blanking out. I'm just listening, sorry, to Jeremy Moore talking to Craig. And they are trying to limp it home, but when it's losing that much water, you're in trouble.
Another little backstory that's been playing just keep intercepting lots of chat to lots of drivers, generally about driving to fuel numbers. And I can only think that the reason they're doing that is that, remember when the safety car came out early, everybody dived in. I reckon some of them played for track position at that point and they didn't squirt enough fuel in. Because remember, you can dump your 140 any which way you like. You can put 10 litres in and do the 100 and whatever later on. Actually, that's a silly example because of the tank capacity. But the point that I'm making is that you can split it as you require on the seesaw. But quite a number of drivers now find themselves out there trying to get to a point where they can reach that critical lap that Mark Larkham speaks of, so that they come in and do one more stop to home. Now, one of them that I reckon I heard that, and I may be wrong, and they've beat me up later, but I've got a feeling that Tander's one of those that was having to try and manage that a little bit, so we'll keep an eye on it. There's a few of them out there who are definitely having to drive to some numbers at the moment. They want to only make one more stop logically to the end of the race.
I think you'll find also that there's a little bit of disparity between what the guys have done for tyre usage over the weekend. They've got 24 hard tyres, and if they use the tyres really well yesterday, you may have been able to get through using 10 tyres, reusing the fronts, and that will have given you the best tyre usage for today in the 250k race. And I know that Richard Holway was just talking to Scott McLaughlin about, you get off these tyres soon, mate, so you can use them up. So his tyre quality, he's 10 seconds now behind Jamie Whincup. I'm sure the tyre quality is a big part of that. Yeah, and I just heard Whincup talking. He used the word struggle, but then the radio broke up, so I couldn't figure out what the struggle was. But it's probably the same thing. Incidentally, Scott Pye's just come into the pit lane as well. He's been running very strongly so far in the Wilson security entry for Dick Johnson. So here's your top 10. Whincup, McLaughlin, Tander, Van Gisbergen, Mostert, Caruso, Percat, Courtney, Ingle, Winterbottom. You hear that message from Richard Holway? It's a mismatched front, so it's a tyre from a different tyre set. So when he first goes onto the incoming tyres, he'll find that there's a bit of instability in this car. Managing speed, pit lane speed limiter on. It's an electronic control, but you've got to use the brakes to stop the car. It's not a question of just whacking a button on and magically the car does 40 kilometres an hour. And you're dealing with a very difficult spot there because of the sun setting and where the control line is for that pit lane speed. So this is the tyre split strategy that Mark Larkham explained. Sorry, Scapey. One of them who was talking fuel numbers then was Chaz Mostert's guys. Adam De Boer just talking to him about, yeah, that was a good lap for fuel. That's all that. Oh, it's the dry, they've topped up the dry ice and it's a bit of the melted ice.
You're right, watch your speed.
So Scotty's just been warned about build-up on the tyre. What that is, when they come in off the track hot, picks up all the little bits of junk. You see all that rubber on the edge of the racetrack, it's build-up. Makes the tyres all crusty. When you first go out on them, they're slippery and it takes a little while for them to normalise. If you lean on the car too much under brakes or in the mid-corner, you could find yourself running out of road. There's that rubber that I spoke about. And when the cars come in off the racetrack and the tyres cool out, they hang on to bits of it. If you have a look at these cars, if you ever come to one of our race meetings, you'll see all that junk on the tyres. And the engineers, the tyre engineers, are not permitted to scrape it off. They used to be allowed to in the good old days. But now all you're allowed to do is scrape around what's called the dimple in the tyre, which gives you the tread depth indication of what your tyres are like. And they start with somewhere just over 3 odd mil of total tread depth. And so you're allowed to measure that and scrape a prescribed area around it, but the rest of it you've got to leave alone, because there was a little industry at one stage where people used to scrub off their tyres. One of them happens to be standing in the box next to me that used to do a fair bit of that to try and get their tyres to recover.
Neil, you're spot on about the Pepsi Max boys. Chaz Mostert and Mark Winterbottom are both driving to a fuel number. They need to do that for about 15 more laps until they get to the next stop.
Thanks, Barrett's Mark Barretta in the pit lane. Yeah, I've been catching just little bits and pieces of that message. It's been a bit universal. Whincup now in. And I reckon what he was saying is those tyres are a bit of a struggle. Yeah, and he will have also gone with the McLaughlin thing. It's a little bit of who are you racing? He was 10 seconds up the road on McLaughlin, and the undercut yesterday was working. So just listen to this communication. This is very good, Red Bull Racing Australia.
You use this nice lead in we got here. Guys, I want you to be nice and easy with this tyre. They've got plenty of time. I want Benny, you can do a screen for me, please. Have a look at the front. Nice and easy in this concrete, mate. No spinning of the wheels. Proper and neutral.
You can see the N come on in the dash just then.
Pit lane's clear. Pit lane's clear. At the front, please. Get a look at the front. Okay, nice. All the tyres are on now, mate. 4 in the gear.
Perfectly on the marks. Very nice stop. There's the United fuel flow. 70, 80, 90, almost 95 litres.
Okay, mate. 4 cold, hard tyres. 4 cold, hard tyres. There will be a pair of the car on exit. You should get him. Yep.
He's got to be careful now. David Couch was just talking to him. He told him what car was going to be there, but you arrived down there at the first corner after coming out of that pit stop on cold tyres, trying to stop the car and have a nice, stable turn-in point. Very, very difficult at that stage. Jamie Whincup now is way down the field after that stop. He's down in 15th position. Stay with us. We're on the streets of Townsville.
Into the box. We'll give you 4 tyres, fuel, send on your way. Nice and easy into the monster. Remember to leave the car in neutral for the boys. Beautiful, thank you. Alright. We've got wheels back on this side, righty. The boys are just giving you a sound. Have a look at the front. We're all looking pretty good. Have a drink, Shane. There's probably about another 10 seconds or so to go. Should be clear when we drop. Yeah, mate. No, I'm clear. You're clear. Okay, mate, line forward now, line forward. That's all cold lines. Have a look around the front, please. There's nothing up there. Make sure it's fully clear, please, mate.
We're in Townsville. It's the Castrol Townsville 500, and Craig Lowndes is having a shocking weekend. They got water leak in this car that's causing a temperature issue, and he's back in the pit lane once again. He's last in the field. This Castle Hill racetrack is in its shadow at the moment. Garth Tanner is actually the leader of the race from Chaz Mostert. As we start to see some taking their second stop. Shane Van Gisbergen was in during the break, and he's taken his second. He won't get home from there, so he'll be in for another later, which makes 3 stops, 4 stints for him. But I reckon you'll see him on some very good tyres in the latter stint. So watch for Van Gisbergen. Isn't that a wonderful shot? It's a precinct that really encourages great racing. A lot of interactivity for the fans in and around it. And, well, for the whole week here in Townsville, there's been a lot of activity. The town's really come alive and been a great host to everybody at V8 Supercars, and thank you very much.
And there's your leader. Great shot there, puts all that into perspective. Beautiful location. That's the parkland area. That's the permanent built section of racetrack. And that's turn 12 leading up to the final corner. Turning onto Boundary Street now, which runs down the centre of this racetrack.
We're going to have a race here. We'll see whether or not it's Chopper versus Tander and see what happens after a lap. You call it.
All right, I think I'll take car 2, actually. This is down to the western end street circuit part that I have been mentioning all weekend.
Well, there was a bit of understeer with the chopper there at turn 2. Chaz Mostard's come in and so has Rick Kelly.
It's going to be a long lap if you commentate the chopper lap.
We need telemetry for both. But what it does is it gives you a great idea of the proximity of the walls, where the curbs are located.
Ross River.
Here's Mostard. He's been running nicely. So this again is a 3-stop race now for him, 4 segments. So they'll be looking for a short ladder segment on good rubber quality. 3.7 litres per second for the United fuel that's going in there. You can see the stopwatch. Holden Racing Team, Ryan Walkinshaw, the owner of the team. Blake Smith was shoulder, you can see there on the right. Anthony McDonald pulling strange faces in the background. And Adrian Burgess there in operational control.
This is now starting to heat up because they know that it's only 7 or 8 laps until the critical lap for Tander to get home. So lap 38.
There was a lot of warning language in that for some reason. I was trying to interpret, but there was an awful lot of make sure you understand this fact.
So Tander leads from Caruso. He's done a great job. Percat in 3rd. We're on board with Courtney. He's 4th. Winterbottom 5th. Engel also a good job, up to 6th. Tim Slade 7th. Coulthard, David Wall, and Whincup. Whincup in 10th position.
Blake, who you saw there before, worked with James Courtney successfully in 2010 at Jim Beam Racing when James picked up that championship. They were together and he was on data, so there's a bit of a reunited gang down there at the Holden Racing Team at the moment. They had a terrific day yesterday. We're watching Mostard. He's just come out with another load of fuel, 4 fresh tyres. Got a little bit of bonnet damage on that car, but that's no big deal. So it's Tander from Caruso, the Nissan Hornet entry, position 2, car 36. Then Nick Percat, car 222, in position number 3. Then Courtney, so Holden Racing Team 1 and 4 at the moment. Then Winterbottom's 5. We'll go through a phase here where the order's a bit scrambled as they all come in and make subsequent stops. And remember, for some of them, this is going to be about trying to struggle to lap 44. For others, they've clearly declared that they're going after a 3-stop, 4-stint strategy.
And what they'll do at this point is they'll all be on standby, because if there's a safety car, from pretty much from 42, you get home. So they're very, very tense times for teams when you're right at this phase of the race. You always have a backup plan of, if there's a safety car this lap, would we take it?
Ryan Walkinshaw, I'll steal your eyes away from the screen just for a brief few seconds. Now, the emotional roller coaster that you and Adrian Burgess had to went through yesterday, but you got the victories in the end, but it was really heartbreaking. I saw the emotion on your face, and we do have some vision when, you know, young Nick Percat, he was going so strong, but then had those issues in pit lane.
Yeah, no, it was a real shame. You know, Nick's been driving so well recently. He's been really getting some pace, both in qualifying and his race pace as well. So, you know, it's disappointing when you know you could have had a better result and you've only got yourself to blame for shooting yourself in the foot in the pit stop.
I know you're so passionate about this team, so passionate about this sport. You know, you have your heart on your sleeve, but Garth is doing so well in this race so far.
Yeah, no, he's doing fantastic. I'm not going to count anything too early. There's still 50 laps to go. And we've had a fair few incidents over the last couple of years of leading a race and falling over the last hurdle. So let's just keep everything nice and calm and see where we get to.
I'll try not to get myself kicked out again like I did yesterday by Adrian. Nick Percat sitting in 3rd position. You've also got good results there with James Courtney sitting there nice. We don't want to get too carried away, but it's still early stages, but looking very good.
No, let's not get carried away. If it happens, it happens, and I'll be a very happy man at the end of the day, but it's still a long way to go.
Good luck with the rest of the race, Ryan. Thanks very much.
Cheers, thank you.
Ryan Walkinshaw, son of the late Tom Walkinshaw, the original owner and founder of the Holden Racing Team and Holden Special Vehicles. And he's really invested heavily this year to bring on a lot of personnel. Adrian Burgess, Matt Nilsson, engineer, Blake Smith, and quite good spirit down there at the moment that both Tanner and Courtney are talking about as they try and work towards solutions to find improvements. They've been through a tied-out period in the recent past. At the moment, they're first and fourth in the in this race, and in the championship, they are climbing up the order at the moment. Incidentally, on that topic of championship, very early days, but Lowndes could well find himself in fifth at the end of this as he departs Townsville and heads home to think about the next event at the Coates Hire Ipswich event at Queensland Raceway. We'll take another break. And you can see on that Coates Hire leaderboard that it's all about Garth Tanner at the moment. Can they manage it in from here?
Okay, look at another 8 laps here, mate. You've got pace on Bridie.
We're in Townsville, Castrol Townsville 500. That's the Ross Creek. And the bridge over some very calm water there at the moment. But Garth Tanner's got a 14-second margin. He's just been told to nurse the left rear tyre and be particularly careful across the top of the curbing. We've already seen David Reynolds come in with a puncture. There's the Coates Hire leaderboard. Now, he's still on one stop. So's Caruso, Percat, Courtney, Winterbottom. Jason Bright, he had 2 stops there, but one of those was for that pit lane drive-through penalty. We saw Van Gisbergen and Mostert come in earlier. They've probably moved now, not probably, they have moved to a 3-stop strategy. Here's Lee Holdsworth, car number 4. He's 10th.
Great work, mate.
McLaughlin down the inside here of James Moffat. That was for position number 14. So we're moving up now to this critical zone of the race. The people are just carefully managing fuel, trying to make sure they can get home now, get this last load on and get themselves through to the end of the race. It's a lively exchange here between Will Davison and Jason Bright. Coming into the last corner. That sun gets really tricky down there at this time of the day, so it's both the Erebus entries, Lee Holdsworth and Will, and there's that exchange that I alluded to on the replay. And then Bright gets back down the inside. So we're going to have a look at some of the highlights of the race so far. Race number 22. And off the start of the race, right at the back of the pack, it was all a bit willing because Jack Perkins and Dale Wood got stuck into it. And they triggered an early safety car, which then threw the race into somewhat of a scramble. And the best part of 1/3 to half the field came in. Double stacking's been a big story. So has wheel spinning, been for Jason Bright, Team BOC. And this little incident here, moving that wheel, will trigger a post-race investigation. Red Bull Racing Australia under the scrutiny of V8 Supercars officials and the stewards, and they'll be called to explain their actions at the end of the day. Meantime, Lowndes is in the wars anyway, so it's just going to be one of those arguments. At the Holden Racing team, they're playing for keeps down there at the moment. They're currently 1st and 4th. They're reasonably well positioned. So there's a number of different people on different strategies. Mostert and Dahlgren tangling here. So at this stage of the race, Robert hadn't taken his stop. Others had, and they were giving him a fair shove out of the way. Shane van Gisbergen, he's moved to a 3-stopper. And here's Mostert on Lowndes, who was beginning to show signs of an engine problem. Resulted in overheating and then hemorrhaging water from that car. They've been back in to top it up a couple of times. It's their engine expert, Ken McNamara, just looking there. And so they brought it in, put some pressurised water into that radiator system, into the water cooling system. And Caruso's now in together with Ingle, Slade, Bright. And we've reached that critical lap.
Sorry, Cromwell, he's done a great job. He went from 16th to 2nd when he came in, and that's real. So when this race stabilises, we'll give you some pluses or minuses versus the grid spots. But Caruso, because he didn't have to stack early on, made a lot of ground.
It's going to get very busy now. You can see teams laying up in the background. The Holden Racing team are getting ready. They've got Jason Bright into Team BOC. Pulled the final tear off from that car. They're waiting for fuel. Chris Clark in the background.
These are pivotal, these stops now. It's Courtney. Ingle and Bright in at the same time. Tander leading, Courtney out of 3rd position. On board now with James.
It's very important for him to drop into position there, not overshoot. There goes the tear off. Amazing how much rubbish ends up on the screens. As soon as that fuel comes back up that vent side, which is closest to us, or it might even actually be just a time stop here. So 3.7 litres a second.
You can hear that then. That was direction to make sure the other tyres are coming, because Tander's coming in a second.
Not sure whether they're going to actually wait to see it fully come up the neck, or whether they're just going to put in a prescribed amount for a specific number of seconds. But we saw it actually come back up the vent side there, so that car's absolutely full. Teammate Garth Tanner, yesterday's race winner. Ooh. That's awkward when 2 cars are side by side resolving position. James Moffat, David Wall, while there were people standing there servicing the Tander car.
So there's Mark Winterbottom, Percat, Coulthard, all in pit lane. Championship leader in the foreground, having his final stop executed.
So Tander came into the top 10 yesterday by virtue of his performance in the championship, and these 2 guys on screen here at the moment are championship contenders. One of them leads it. Fabian Coulthard's been in 3rd position for much of the series so far, so critical stops for them.
Just trying to work out where Tander pops out versus the other guys that have made those 2 stops. Remember, Whincup currently leading, has only done 1 stop.
Long way to go to get the car coming down.
So Coulthard departs, and here's Jamie Whincup. This is a replay of a reaction from James Courtney. He's looking in the mirror. It's an eternity when you're sitting there waiting for the fuel to drop in, 3.7 litres per second. And as all the crew moved away from the car, he's thinking, come on, but it's fuel that's the dictating element, and they had to bring it right up to absolute full. We saw that. Look at this battle going on here between Winterbottom and Slade. These guys are just been serviced, and they are 16th and 17th, and Tim Slade wants to make a battle of it, as he should.
So remember that double stacking early really had an effect on Mark Winterbottom's track position. Put him right back to 20th. He started in 12th. He's currently 16th. He'll jump up at least another 5 spots. His pace was good yesterday. Tander, who has been very fast, is also going to take some beating. Shane Van Gisbergen. I love watching him drive on these street circuits. It's just a great replay at turn 5. 140 kilometres an hour, up over the curb, lands nicely, gathers it up. This is the final corner. This is Robert Dahlgren, has just been a punching bag all day. That was Todd Kelly with Robert.
This Whincup, we're keeping an eye on his progress in this field. Remember that he stopped on lap 32. He didn't react to that initial safety car, so he's on a different strategy. He's the leader of the motor race at the moment. And from lap 32, plus a maximum range of around 44 laps, he can get out as far as 76. They're not going to do that, but that is where we describe it as the window closes. That's their fuel range. So they're playing a little flexibility game at the moment and looking for opportunity here to decide where the right crossover is.
That's right, and it's 38 seconds between he and Garth Tander, Neil. So he's leading on the track with only 1 stop. Garth Tander, with 2 stops, is 38.1 seconds behind. So the amount of fuel and the service time, the transit of the pit lane, will be the interesting aspect of what happens with Whincup. So they'll be asking him to go as fast as you can go, try to get up the road as far as you can be, and then make that call on the stop.
So it's 35, 36 seconds to transit the pit lane and rejoin the original timeline and rattle on your 4 wheels of tyres, plus your fuel.
So the number is 38.6 seconds at the moment. Right now, he's got to stop for 38.6 seconds total. So that he's, if you say, with 38.1 seconds lead over Tander, there is nothing in it.
Yeah, that's where we were getting with all that, with all those numbers. Are you following everybody? So Whincup is the leader at the moment. He will stop again. This is Lee Holdsworth. And he's racing Garth Tander, who's currently 10th. This is where these strategies get interesting. Quite difficult to manipulate those hoses when they're full, when they're refueling. They're heavy, and the angle in the way you couple the nozzle to the fuel system in the cars is critical. If you don't get that angle right, they don't couple up correctly.
So Whincup leads from Will Davison, Scott McLaughlin. They've only had a single stop. Shane Van Gisbergen has done 2 stops, but he can't make it home. Scott Pye, Dave Reynolds, Chaz Mostert, Todd Kelly, Garth Tander, Robert Dahlgren. That's the top 10. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's the Ross River, runs through the centre of the track, joins over the bridge there at turn 4. Castle Hill and the great landscape of Townsville. Stay with us. This is going to be an intriguing battle between Jamie Whincup and Garth Tander.
cars as you come out of pit lane. You've got nice match set here. 90-10 up, mate. 90-10 on the bar. 90. We've got a clear pit lane. You'll be good to go when you drop. Go.
Welcome back to Townsville, Castrol Townsville 500, race number 22 of the championship. 250 kilometres of racing this afternoon on 7, and they're on their 53rd of 88 laps in this journey. It's currently being led by Jamie Whincup, who's on a different strategy. He last stopped on lap number 32. He can run as far as another 44 laps in fuel range after that, but they'll wait for the right opportunity, which will be a question of track opportunity, how the tyres are tapering in their lap speed performance and where it lands him, and they'll be watching others' lap speed. Now, I just heard Jamie say on the radio a minute ago to Dave Couchy, car's okay at the moment, it won't be later on. So yeah. I don't reckon it's strong at the back end of the stint for him as it was at the front half of the stint. I don't think he's entirely happy with the behaviour and balance of the car at the moment.
The only good thing about that is that when he gets fresh tyres, so as you can see, Dahlgren in there, Whincup, the only one of the front runners who's only made that single stop. When he gets fresh tyres, he'll be able to fix it. That was a bad lap the previous lap. His fastest lap was a 14.13. On the previous lap was a 15.05. So that's not fast enough, and that gap back to Tanner, which is the interesting thing, is 39 seconds. We say it's 38.6. that he'll stop for in total.
It's been going on for a little while, this battle here involving Fabian Coulthard and Will Davison. These guys are in dispute over 14th and 15th at the moment. Remember, this is a long race with a long way to go, and they're dealing with those shadows at the moment and the setting sun on the western end of the racetrack. That's a challenge. Rick Kelly's come in, Jack Daniels Racing.
Great work, mate. Coulthard behind has to save fuel.
They're riding with Scott Pye here. So Dick Johnson, Ford Falcon, Wilson Security backing. So we're checking that gap constantly between Whincup and all those that he's racing strategically at the moment. We'll keep an eye on his lap speed too. As we detailed earlier in the broadcast, it's the 300th race for Jack Daniels Racing. It all started back in Larry Perkins' hangar at Moorabbin Airport in 2006. They've been a long-time partner in the series. Completely wrapped those cars overnight and finished at 6 o'clock this morning. Wandered into the garage earlier in the day for a look, and they look fantastic. A little bit of gold plate, tape trim here and there as well.
And meanwhile, on the other side of the garage, Neil, Michael Caruso has done a great job. He's currently 7th. When Whincup comes in, he'll go to 6th. He started 16th, so he's the lead Nissan on track.
They've also been managing Shane Van Gisbergen carefully as well. Jeff Slater, engineers, just been talking him through his options. Remember, they've gone to a 3-stop, 4-stint. That was them on the radio just then, in fact. Now, they made a lot of changes to the car again overnight. I spoke to Jeff before the race. They were unhappy with the balance in the first race. Remember, we intercepted that discussion about it sliding, being too oversteery in the rear. They improved it a bit for the second race yesterday, but not enough. It doesn't look too bad at the moment because consider that on the road, he is in P2, 19.8 seconds, and it's a stable gap to Jamie Whincup. As we go back on board with Rick Kelly, he actually gained a position in the championship in the Northern Territory.
I love that shot. So there's Lowndes back in the pits again with this engine issue that's been haunting him all day, and I keep saying, what a weekend for Craig Lowndes.
The reason why they're trying to just struggle it across the line is they want points, Mark, and he's 23rd at the moment, and 23rd in this race because it's the double points race relative to those yesterday, says he, trying to frantically find it, is worth 36 points, 23rd position. So they want him to finish, they want him to be classified, they want to get points because that's going to contribute to the end game when we get to Sydney at the back end of the year.
36 points easily could win or lose the championship, and we know that Craig Lowndes in those long distance races has been the benchmark guy when we get to the big races of 300 points in a day.
Lowndes has resorted to humour. I just intercepted him on the radio, just asked for a burger and fries. He's been back in for a few stops, so at least his sense of humour is intact. Probably not so inside this cockpit, because remember that earlier in the day, David Reynolds had a flat left rear tyre, and several drivers have been warned about too much curb. Just looking after those tyres, it's very easy to just put a little crease in the sidewall of the tyre and crimp the tyre on the top of the curb if you just catch it wrong. David's actually played back into the game here. He's currently 4th on the road.
He's done a good job. He's actually driven very well to get back into contention. So Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Mostert, Reynolds, Tander, Courtney, Percat, Caruso, Winterbottom and Pye, top 10.
I hasten to add, he had to come in on lap 20 because of that stop, and that means he'll have to stop again. And so at the moment, that position's slightly artificial for him, and when he does come back in and grab fuel, he'll feel the full effects of the punishment of the flat tyre again.
Which that'll benefit Winterbottom. He'll pop up as a consequence of that.
Of course, the other thing is about when you make those remarks, and they know it in the bunkers as well, that's all fine and dandy, because if the safety car comes out, you get a free kick. And that's what some of them will also be playing too.
Well, that's what they'll be doing with Whincup. They'll just leave him to a point where they'll say, does he need to make that stop, and don't risk the safety car, Rihanna.
Petters Suspension, the official steering and suspension sponsor of the V8 Supercars, are giving away this, the official course car of the V8 Supercars that we see on track at every single one of our V8 Supercar races. One lucky V8 Supercar fan will take home this $70,000 worth of Chrysler course car, the Chrysler 300 SRT8 at the end of our 2014 championship season. All you have to do is head to www.v8promo.com.au to take home this at the end of the season. Neil Cronton, I think you'd look pretty good in one of these.
Thanks, Rihanna. Bit of fun to go scooting around out there at the moment. Thank you for that. It would be a great prize with the compliments of Petters. So the big question now in this race is, where will Jamie Whincup and his group decide to pit for his second and final time in this race? Stay with us, we'll have the answer shortly. 142,501 enthusiastic V8 supercar fans have come through the gates over the 3 days of this weekend for the Castrol Townsville 500. And there they are in the sunshine, the late afternoon here. What a great place to be in winter, in Townsville, in Queensland, with shorts and a T-shirt. Cop that, Southern Australia. It's a great place to be at this time of the year. Now, David Reynolds in for his final stop. We spoke about it before the break. We still haven't seen the second stop from Jamie Whincup. We know that Mostert's on a 3-stop strategy. This was a bit earlier. Shane Van Gisbergen, he's also on the 3-stopper, and he just took it there on lap number 59. Last set of tyres, which we think are a very good condition set of tyres to do the final stint of the race. And the margin at the moment, the important gap between Whincup and Tander is 39.9 seconds. It's an absolute nail-biter when this one rolls out.
So our numbers are the fuel consumption for Jamie Whincup slightly higher than earlier. He's going to have to stop for almost exactly 40 seconds. He's 39.9 seconds in front of Tander. Our corrected number is, after this stop, there'll be a second apart. This is high-pressure motorsport now with 2 of the factory-Holden teams.
And there's a theory, and then there's reality.
Yep.
So the theory is that they should come out very close and maybe a second apart one way or the other. But he's got to take that stop. He's got to get in. He's got to hit his marks. They've got to rattle those wheels on accurately. He's got to get the fuel on cleanly and the nozzle and all the rest of it, and then depart cleanly and get back up to speed. And it's not just about the lane. It's about the entry, which we're witnessing, and the departure and returning to your original timeline. And as soon as he comes out, he'll be given an awareness as to where Garth Tanner is. And here's GT. Throwing her over the curbs. He'll understand the importance of this. Round through turn 10 for Tander. Into the pit lane for Whincup. Accuracy is vital here for Whincup. Slippery. Perfect. Perfect for Whincup.
12 seconds of fuel.
Clear to go. All clear. Go, mate.
It's going to be very close.
He's going to get him.
Cold soft tyres, all cold soft tyres.
So,
need you to push on now, all cold soft tyres.
I think you get a bit carried away saying soft tyres, but old tyres. But there you go. This is the situation now. Tander's got control, effectively. Mostert's still the leader of the race, but must do his 3rd stop. Chaz came in last on lap number 36. Now, what have they all got in firepower to get to the end? Here we are on board. This is a critical lap here for Whincup. The out lap on the cold tyres and bringing them up to pressure and getting the car back to its original pace. It's very important. That gap ended up bigger than we thought it was going to project. Like I said before, there's the theory and then there's the reality in this business, and sometimes they can be 2 different things. So we've got an interesting situation here. Can Tander go back-to-back? Did it yesterday afternoon. He did it this time last year. All of a sudden, they've got some serious form.
26 laps remaining.
So this is now all about car pace. Tander, 14.8.
And it's a long stint. A long way to go. We'll check out the margin here. There it is. Tander gone through. He's on his way to 3. There's Whincup. These guys are 2nd, 3rd with Chaz Mostert leading. 6.5 second margin. Chaz is still to stop for a final time. There's Courtney Percat. This is 4th position. This is a good job also, Michael Caruso. Great for Nissan Motorsport. And for Norton, there's Lowndes, but he's ailing. He's 23rd. Been losing water from that car. Then Van Gisbergen. Brett.
Just with Mark Dutton, just very busy here at the moment. Dutton, sorry to interrupt. Jamie Whincup's tyres, green tyres for him?
Not green, just 1 lap in quali, so or probably the shootout tyres actually. So no better, no worse than anyone else, except obviously we put them on later than Tander. So we'll see if we can chase him down and have some fun.
Dutto, what's your gut feeling about his run home from here?
Oh, Tander's a good driver. He's hard to pass, and he's had good pace all weekend. So we're in with a shot. We'll see how we go.
Good luck, mate.
Cheers, Brett.
Adrian Burgess, sorry to interrupt there, mate. I guess this is really all about the chase to the end. We know Whincup's on his shootout tyres, so he's on good rubber. You've had great chassis balance this weekend. Your cars have been fantastic, mate. Can he hold him back?
Oh, look, we'll give it a red-hot go. I mean, we just punched out a 14.8 there. We'll get some clear air. We'll give it a go. We know he's on better tyres than we are, but, you know, it's a long game. Started sort of 50 laps ago. We'll see how we go. We're going to give it a good crack.
I reckon you're going to fascinate us. Well done.
Yeah, so there's really 4.3 seconds apart. He was 0.5 of a second faster. So this is now a sprint between two of the very best operators in the two factory teams. Tanner versus Whincup. 4.2 seconds apart. Stay with us. This will be great.
To the car in front. Excellent pace.
Time for a bit of mega wall action on the track, the pit lane, the curb cams, the main straight in at race control where it's been a bit quiet recently. And on board with Jamie Whincup in the bottom right-hand side of screen. He's half a second a lap on average faster at the moment than Garth Tanner. He's taking time from him. He's 3.2 seconds away from him now. Chaz Mostert is still the leader of the race. However, he will stop again. He last stopped on lap number 36, and they've got a maximum 44-lap range with 112-litre tanks in them. We're looking at the battle here involving Tim Slade, Fabian Coulthard. This is 12th and 13th. Other thing that's going on at the moment, remember, 3-stop, 4-stint strategy for Van Gisbergen. He's hunting down rapidly Michael Caruso at the moment. That's a battle for 6th and 7th. Van Gisbergen's pretty speedy.
So Caruso has done a great job. I said before, he started 16th, currently in 6th. He will get one spot back with Mostert when he comes in. Oh.
Craig Lowndes waving his blue left rear wing end plate to the blue flag official departing the pit lane. So here's that battle I spoke about. Now Shane is going to grab Michael because he's just simply got more grip at the moment. Michael stopped in car number 36 last on lap number 44, which was more the standard strategy. And there you can see the amount of time that Shane has been biting out of Michael. So he's catching more than a second a lap on average. So this won't really be a contest. Probably get him, if not before, down the inside at turn 11 after the fast sweeper.
Turns 7 and 8.
Yeah, they're 27 seconds from the lead. So Van Gisbergen is actually going to make his presence felt. Watch this. He's positioning that hold to sneak down the inside. He'll do it easily. So, as predicted, down there at 11. Done deal. Mostert's in. The race leader is in. Car number 6, Pepsi Max Ford Performance Racing. That reveals Garth Tanner as the leader of the race. And the margin's now 1.8 seconds between Tanner and Whincup. Here's Chaz.
1 second that was. 1 second on that lap. Whincup 14.6, Tanner 15.6.
Tyre quality for Whincup is making a monstrous difference. But as Mark Dutton pointed out, Garth Tanner is an experienced hand. He's been through a bit of a recent drought. He won't be terribly inclined to write a written invitation to Jamie Whincup. He'll probably get his elbows up reasonably high, I suggest.
I think you're absolutely right. Garth's always been one of the toughest guys to get by. He's a very good defender. But with 20 laps to go, in terms of car speed, I don't know whether you can hold them off when it's like that. It's half a second on this lap alone. Lucko?
Yeah, Neil, you talked about that tyre quality. You've almost got to rewind back over the weekend. One of the reasons Jamie ends up in this position, and we looked at the whiteboard earlier about that optional strategy of splitting your tyre run across the race rather than looking at your fuel strategy so hard, is you manage that from yesterday. And the way Jamie uses his tyres, he ends up with a really good tyre bank for today, late in the afternoon, and it gives him the option to say, oh, we're going to put on good tyres all race. And here we are.
So the effect of that, I totally agree, Larko. That's about tyre strategy for the whole weekend. But the effect of it is that Tanner stopped on 46, Whincup stopped on 60. So when you have the 14-lap differential of tyre freshness, you are going to make big gains. But remember, some of that gain does go away.
Yeah, there's a bit of tapering in that. So good quality tyres, we were informed, for Jamie, but also the age of them going to make a difference here as well. So it's officially 0.6 of a second. We don't need the numbers. You can see it clearly at the moment. James Courtney's in this game for a podium at the moment as well. His teammate Nick Percat. So 3 of the top 4 cars from Walkinshaw Racing. And Shane Van Gisbergen continues very quickly at the moment. So just keep a careful eye on his progress. He's 5th. Past Michael Caruso. We saw that before. Blake Smith, engineer, there on screen. Keeping the drivers informed.
Here's the yellow lever now.
This is the lead of the race. Through the kink at turn 1, which really isn't. It's just flat top gear, 250 odd kilometres. Now look at the performance under brakes for Whincup. A massive lunge straight down the inside to the lead of the race. Well, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, but Tanner is going to put a fight up for this as they head up to turn 3. He's on the inside. It was a big lunge by Whincup, and he forces him back into 2nd. Nice crossover manoeuvre out of 2. He came from a long way back to get that done, Jamie Whincup. So he's got a little bit of a grip advantage going there at the moment, but he used it very well.
Yeah, I thought that Garth had basically handed it to him, but then when he turned back the opposite side, he did a beautiful crisscross manoeuvre. Was on the inside then for turn 3.
Here he is again, turn 11. Diagonals to the corner and under him. Garth plays the game again for the crisscross, back up the inside. It's not done. They head to the last corner. This time Whincup, I think, is going to be able to close the deal.
When he ran wide.
He ran wider than he would have liked, but no, he's been able to cover. So there's a bit of relief inside the garage at Red Bull Racing there. He's got pace.
And that message straight away from David Cacci. Great driving, mate. Eyes forward. That means don't look in the mirror. Oh, and here's Tanner. Tanner with the lights ablaze. Down the inside. Gives him a bump. He couldn't get right up alongside. He got to the back wheel. Jamie turned it in. Garth stayed there and gave him a shove. So that just shows the level of animosity between factory Holden teams, that you are trying to win these races desperately. Let's have a look. This is the replay. Garth with the lights on. Breaks it super deep. Gets up there. Bang. Just a little bump.
Can't believe he had time to get over there and get the lights on.
Oh, check this.
That was when the move was done. And there was a bit of relief in there when that all got cleaned up. Check out the load in that left front and the exhaust on the overrun there for Jamie Whincup, and the deflection of that left rear tyre under load as well. So 0.9 of a second already, and this is the reaction when there was the contact with Tanner and Whincup down there at turn 2. And it didn't look like it was complimentary, amazingly enough.
People often think it's just a genuine Ford versus Holden battle, and now with all the manufacturers involved, that it's manufacturer rivalry at its best, but often there's more at stake between the Holden teams or the Ford teams to actually beat each other for supremacy within your own brand.
Every man for himself. That's what it is. Here's Courtney. This is the battle for third with his teammate Nick Percat. He's done a terrific job this weekend, Percat. Remember, he qualified on the front row yesterday. Had a tardy pit stop, and we saw that reaction from Ryan Walkinshaw before when Rihanna covered off that story.
So now that this race has settled somewhat, that everybody's made the stops and we're sprinting home, a couple of guys that really need mentioning. I've said it a couple of times with Michael Caruso's performance. That's fantastic. Nick Percat has done a great job all weekend. But also Scott Pye. He's in 8th position. He started 17th. So that's a very good run for him in the DJR Falcon.
Percat stopped on lap number 46 and Courtney stopped on lap number 45. So tyre condition shouldn't be, in terms of their age in this stint of the race, shouldn't be an issue, but we don't know what went on to both those cars for the final stint. But Percat looks a bit racy here at the moment. He's threatening Courtney, and if he does get by, that gets him on the podium. He's first. That's Rob Starr. He wants him to wind a little bit more brake percentage to the front. That's the owner of the team, Ryan Walkinshaw. And it was a season best 4th for Nick Percat yesterday. If he does climb over his teammate here, James Courtney, and gets on the podium, that'll be a career first for him in the main game, because remember, he did partner Garth Tanner to that Bathurst victory a couple of years ago, but now he's a solo voyager, and this will mean a lot to him if he can get on that podium.
And the reason that Rob Starr will be asking him to change the brake balance is they'll be looking at the balance of the car on the telemetry, and they'll be saying that it's got some oversteer and some rear locking late in the stop. And look at Van Gisbergen throwing it around to try to catch both of them. And if you just move the brake bias to the front, at a couple of spots it'll snag the front wheel, but in the longer, more arduous stops, Winterbottom with a big front lock then, he's in 7th position. He almost went off the road that time.
Other thing that they've just processed is that Van Gisbergen is 20 seconds from the lead of the race. He's only 2.9 seconds from Percat. So what they can't afford at Walkinshaw Racing here, if Courtney holds up Percat and the two of them fumble each other, they'll get snatched by Van Gisbergen, who could grab a podium away from them. They're going to have to manage that a bit carefully, because there'll be a lot of pride at stake within this team. There it is. There's the scenario that I just spoke about. So these guys, they'll be hungry. They want a podium. But if there's any ball fumbling going on here, then that's going to hurt, because Gizzy, who's on fresher tyres, stopped on lap 58. The other two blokes roughly 10 laps earlier. They could get snipped here.
That's 100%, Neil, and if they do climb over each other, often when you have a battle like that, you actually cost yourself more time. You can see, we watched it on the previous lap, there's a big chunk of time again on this lap.
Gee, races well, Van Gisbergen. He's just a terrier. His point-to-point racing from lights out to flag fall is as good as you get. Look at this. Percat throws it in the weeds. Oh, big dust screen there for Van Gisbergen following, and it's relentless. The chase by Van Gisbergen. He's closing that air gap big time at the moment. There he is.
I'll give you the lap time again on this one. Jamie Whincup has done a 15.2, Tanner a 15.5. These guys are about to cross the strike for lap 75.
And Whincup's pace, as you'd expect, is flattening as well. So that's going to be a curiosity for me too. Remember, an 88-lap race, not done yet. So we'll just see what changes here in terms of the leader's pace while we monitor the battle for third.
So Van Gisbergen, the only guy in that top 5 that's as fast as Whincup. He did a 15.29, Whincup a 15.20. So this will liven up in 2 or 3 laps, because we can see Van Gisbergen coming at them. I love this section.
Continues to wheel in and out of the pit lane, grabbing more water. And Mark Winterbottom's also gone past another position over Michael Caruso. That's position 6. Vital points for Winterbottom. Championship leader, he needs every point he can get.
Scott Pye right out sideways then out of turn 6. So close to going in the fence on the right.
So for the third time in a row for Mark Winterbottom, dud qualifying and then redemption with inside top 10 results. So, you know, they're yielding a decent outcome, aren't they?
He started 12, so it's a great run. His race performances have been fantastic. The way that the car looks after its tyres, the way that Mark drives it. And when you're the championship leader, you have to put that performance on. You have to go to the great lengths that are required in this sport to do everything you possibly can to not make a mistake and move forward. Remember, he double stacked at the start, which really hurt him. I mean, he'd be further up the road by a fair way.
Scott Pye on screen there at the moment in car number 16. He's 8th in the field. He's had a couple of season best 7th, so if he gets over the top of Caruso, which looks like he might be able to do at the moment, he'll equal his season best performance. Meantime, Van Gisbergen continues to close. It's now 1.3 seconds.
Hey, Neil, it's starting to feel like Darwin all over again, isn't it? I'm just with Jono Webb. Jono, your man Shane Van Gisbergen is closing this gap on Nick Percat and James Courtney. What's your feeling?
Look, it's going to be hard. There's no doubt it's tough. Those cars have been quick all weekend, but Shane's quietly confident there. We're about half a second lap quicker at the moment. Still got 13 laps to go, so the time's there, but they're not going to make it easy.
All right, give me a feel. When's he going to reel them in and get past them?
Look, at the moment, looking at it, it's not going to be too far away. We've got good tyres, a fair bit younger than what they've got, so that gap should close pretty quickly towards the end.
All right, sit back and enjoy, Jono.
Will do. Thanks.
So, the championship at the moment, 96 points from Mark Winterbottom to Jamie Whincup. They stay where they are. Fabian Coulthard, 3rd. James Courtney, 4th. And Craig Lowndes in 5th. So,
it's a real shift
282
around.
Points away, Neil.
Yeah, this has been a dramatic weekend for point shuffling. Scott Pye now down the inside. That's for position 7.
Good job. Very good drive.
So for Caruso, he's just ailing at the back end here. He stopped on lap 44, so tyre wear and car balance not to his liking at the end there. And for Scott Pye, he stopped on lap 52. Those younger tyres have served him well.
Let's check this gap. Only 0.7 now, Van Gisbergen to Percat. Continues to gnaw away.
And 3 seconds Whincup to Tander. And just on the last lap, Tander was quicker to the 2nd timing intermediate. So their times have now all but flattened out. In fact, they just crossed the line, as you may have seen in the background. And Garth did a 1:15.3 and Jamie did a 15.5. So Garth actually took some time out of him just in the latter part of that lap. Equal distance between Courtney, Percat and Van Gisbergen. So Nick has just lost touch ever so slightly with James. And he'll be starting to catch the distraction of car number 97 right behind him.
How's the braking? That last part of the braking area there, it's about a 150 to 160 metre braking area from 255 kilometres an hour. You've got to slow the car to 70k. And in the last part of the braking area, he took about 3 or 4 car lengths out of Nick Percat. Now, tyre quality does that, but also he's very, very good on the brakes. He uses a lot of rear brake. Percat just locked the wheel there on the way into this little complex at turn 7, 8, 9.
He's got a very good exit here, and he's going to be a real threat when they get down to the braking area because Nick's car was sliding. He's covered. So the first thing Shane does is go straight up to the outside and then look to affect the crossover. Ooh. Very close to the final corner, and he'll try and crunch him down the inside, but Nick was a wake-up. But when he has to go so far offline, it'll make him slow on exit. He's done it easily. So the aggressive cover by Percat just made him slow effectively there. That was a nice job by Van Gisbergen. He's on it. Next one in his gun sight is James Courtney. He's quick at the moment, Van Gisbergen. It's a different strategy for him.
He only just made the corner then again. His braking down there is fantastic. He skated the car all the way in that last part of the braking area. He turned it in. He had to immediately correct. We saw his hands, and he was on. It was on the slide. He had opposite lock on. He didn't actually have any positive lock. He didn't turn it to the right. It was actually turned to the left as he got to the corner.
Whincup and Tanner, meantime, are now all but exactly the same lap speed and sector splits. It's stable at 3 seconds, and so that little battle is not done yet. Van Gisbergen's car sliding through turn 10. It's the reaction at Red Bull. Remember, they built that car. They don't operate it, but they built that car, and they're obviously recognising a nice move there by Van Gisbergen. He was very racy down at turn 11, and the way he handled the battle through 12 and 13 was nice. Percat did the very best he could do to try and hold him off, but there was no stopping him. Meantime, race leader still sitting at exactly a 3-second cushion, and they're all but locked on the same speed, Whincup and Tanner. This is costly for Whincup. Now he gets by. So David Wall, position 20, Wilson Security Racing. Now gives Whincup clear passage, and there's the gap. Couple of tenths as a result of that little hold up. There's Tanner. Still got the headlights blazing. It'll actually be a little bit easier for the drivers down there at the western end now, because the sun's gone low enough that the light's even in the braking area.
Mostert showing good pace.
Tanner took another couple of tenths out on that sector. Courtney's in a bit of strife. He's about half a second a lap slower to the second timing intermediate than Van Gisbergen, and he's actually slower on that last lap even than Percat. So they've had to use a fair amount of tyre performance to stay alive and try and fight for that podium. Here they are on screen, all three that I just mentioned. Courtney, Van Gisbergen, Percat, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Mark Winterbottom is just lurking around there in the background as well in 6th at the moment. His teammate Chaz Mostert behind him in 7th.
Mostert is the fastest guy on the track at the moment, a 14.9 on that lap. He came in and put fresh tyres on lap 67, so he's got the best tyres in the field. He just passed Scott Pye to go into 7th. He's up behind his teammate. He's actually only 1.8 seconds behind Winterbottom. It'll be interesting to see with FPR the points, will they let him race or not?
So on the front of Shane Van Gisbergen's car, you can see Lucas Oil, and Tom Bogner is the worldwide head of motorsport for Lucas Oil. He's here at Townsville at his first V8 supercar race. Tom, give me your impressions. What have you thought of this?
I'm impressed. Yeah, I'm a new fan now. You know, TV doesn't do it any justice. Jonathan, the team, they've made us really feel at home here at the track. I'm really happy to be here. Excellent racing. And Shane's doing a fantastic job. I'm proud to be part of the team.
You're back the right guy, Tom. Good on you. Good to see you here. We look forward to seeing you more races during the year.
I sure hope so. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Gisbergen's last lap was a 1 minute 15.4. He was 3 tenths quicker than his good friend James Courtney. They do a bit of cycling together. Phil Young has done a bit of training with both these drivers. Van Gisbergen, you can just tell by the way he's gliding that car out here. He's wringing that thing's neck. And James Courtney's doing everything he can to drive it as straight as possible. We're looking from James' rear bumper. 3 seconds still between Whincup and Tanner at the back end of this race. This is for the podium. It's worth the fight. And Courtney hanging by his fingernails at the moment.
This is where Van Gisbergen's been good, Neil, hasn't he?
Yep, and he's good again. He's been able to apply good, strong throttle percentage through turn 9 and 10. He has a look down the inside. Is James going to argue the case? Glowing front brake rotors on James's car, particularly notable. And on Gizzy's car, big brake temps, more than 800 degrees. Late in the day, that's for the podium, and Shane Van Gisbergen makes it stick.
One more front bar.
So Robbie Starr still guiding James Courtney with front brake bias, trying to reduce some of that rear locking late in the stop. See the buffeting of the front spoiler there on Shane Van Gisbergen's car. But Van Gisbergen, what a great drive. Now up onto the podium.
I think that moves Van Gisbergen to 4th in the championship and Lowndes to 6th, and we'll confirm all that for you later in the program. I want you to stay with us for our post-race show to wrap it all up later this afternoon as well. So now Gizzy's asking what the next margin is. Well, that's a bigger one.
Yeah, that's good luck.
That's a fair old margin down the road. 18 seconds, I think, to Garth Tanner. That's a job.
That is a job. The interesting one will be Mostert. Mostert now, he was 1.8 seconds when we last looked. He's 0.9 now behind Winterbottom. So Whincup from Tander, Van Gisbergen, Courtney, Percat, Winterbottom, Mostert, Pye, McLaughlin, who's fought back again, and Caruso in the top 10. In fact, all 5 manufacturers represented in the top 11 cars. Will Davison is the first of the Mercedes-Benz E63s in 11th position.
Van Gisbergen's had more third positions this championship season than any other driver. He's already on 4, and this could potentially be a 5th. Robert Dahlgren, bit of courtesy there. He just stays wide for the boys to let them get on with their race. And it is 3.8 seconds now, Whincup to Tander, so that margin just opened up ever so slightly in the last lap. They were asking Tim Slade here in car number 47 for some fuel saving as well. So he's got a bit of a queue going. He's 13th. Coulthard, Holdsworth, Moffat and Bright. What a day for Jason Bright. Starting as well as he did. And then it just all went pear-shaped. This is the battle pack.
Jason Bright was on the front row of the grid and had a wheel spinning in the pit stop, basically put him out of contention. He's had very good speed all weekend. And poor Craig Lowndes, what a weekend he's had today. 150-point race. He's down in 23rd. He's had engine issues all day. And he's back in again. And this is all around trying to get points for 23rd, which Neil explained before is 36 points. If he can finish this race.
Next time we go V8 Supercar Racing, we stay in Queensland. Coates Hire Ipswich 400. Our coverage begins on 7 and 7 Mate, 12:30 Eastern on Saturday, the 2nd of August. So mark it as a date. First weekend in August, we'll go racing again. So a little bit of a pause. Several drivers are taking the opportunity to go away. Mark Winterbottom heads off for a break in Port Douglas tomorrow. Fabian Coulthard's heading to Hamilton Island. Scotty McLaughlin, he's off to the US. He's going to watch some NASCAR racing next weekend.
An update from the Super Cheap Auto Garage. Tim Slade's fuel, according to the team, in inverted commas, is tight.
Yes. Yes, I've been hearing them on the radio, and I think you're just putting it politely there at the moment. Isn't that a wonderful shot? So it's 3.8 seconds, so Whincup is safe now. I don't think Tander's got a response. Van Gisbergen is going to end up in this 3rd position for the 5th time for 2014. The impressive bit for me, we haven't made a big fanfare about it, but clearly on the days when everything glues together nicely, it's fantastic to be able to grab a win like Jamie's going to be able to do today, we assume. But on the bad days and weekends like Mark Winterbottom is having, if you can limit the damage, then that's what you need to do, and that's what he's been able to achieve. There hasn't really been a question with their longevity or their consistent performance this year. They've been very good at protecting their tyres on those cars, and that's always been a hallmark for Red Bull and for the Triple Eight team in recent years. But to be able to get back from 12th to 6th and grab the points that are associated with that keeps him in the game. Now, he's going to lose a big pile of that margin, but it's definitely worth noting how they've been able to achieve solid results for all 3 races this weekend with basically a car that hasn't worked in qualifying.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And those weekends, as I said earlier, you've just got to do everything you can from a risk management standpoint, from a driver standpoint, to ensure that you just bring it home. And your point is 100% Croppo, that on a day when you're not fast enough, if you can finish 6th, you are still doing a very good job.
So it's 102 points for position 6.
Yep.
And that's not a bad yield when you consider this is still going on, this little battle here. It's far from resolved between these 3 angry young men. And it's Fabian Coulthard, Lee Holdsworth and James Moffat. They're in a fight to the death for 14th at the moment. These fellas are still having a little inter-team battle as well. Courtney and Percat. In fact, if anything, the raciness of Van Gisbergen has faded. Now, that might be by choice, or it might be just an effect of having pushed very hard to catch them. But they've basically stayed latched to the back of the VIP car. I mean, when you check the margin, we heard him on the radio earlier checking out the margin to Garth Tanner. If it were me, I'd just look after those tyres. But he can't afford a slip up here because James Courtney will grab that spot back on the podium.
So, Whincup, a great drive, and he's had a great record of Saturday wins, had 6 wins this year, but the Sunday wins have eluded him. Conversely, Mark Winterbottom has had a great run on the Sundays, and the Sundays are the double points days. So this is a big day for Whincup based on those double points and not having that level of success with the Sunday events.
He took a break before the Darwin event. He went off to Bali. He had a big reset. He was very frustrated with the way in which his year had unfolded. He got stuck into his teammate down in Tasmania. That was awkward. And there's been very high moments, but there's been a few low lows. But his top-end tour in the sun, and then here again in Queensland, has been very profitable for Jamie Whincup. His teammate sidesteps. It's been a shocking day for Craig Lowndes, but it's been a remarkable turnaround and a great strategy play here for Jamie Whincup. Strong, safe, secure, has driven the car in a stable manner. 6 race victories so far this championship season. And he's edging towards the very, very top of the tree in the all-time great list for Australian Touring Car Championship and V8 Supercar drivers. 1 corner remaining, a couple of lazy gear changes, and it's all done and dusted for 2014 for the Castrol Townsville 500. Well done, Jamie Whincup.
Great work, boys. Awesome job all weekend.
It was an awesome job. He rolled out of it so much, it was only 0.9 of a second in the end. Here we are for 3rd. Courtney shadows. There's not much in it, but Shane Van Gisbergen grabs his 5th third placing of 2014. Congratulations to him and all at Techno Autosports. Courtney, Percat, Mark Winterbottom confirmed home in that 6th position.
Smoke those red tyres, mate. Don't bring them back.
Smoke those rears, David Couch. He told Jamie Whincup. I don't reckon you'll need to give him a nudge after that. He's onto it.
Well, that's the difference between winning Saturday or winning Sunday. If you win on Saturday, you've still got to reuse the tyres often. If you win on Sunday, you don't worry about what happens to the tyres. So, David Couchy, that's a great comment. You can smoke those rear tyres, mate. And that is a very good comeback. As Neil said, the performance at Darwin and the performance here is very Whincup-like. Beautiful drives. It's all sideways. He's got it in first gear. He's just wheel spinning it everywhere. By the TAFE Queensland sign. This is down around at turn 10. And this is where the general admission viewing and the stadium-like feel of the Townsville Street Circuit is just fantastic. Those people down there will be...
He was a bit half-hearted to start with, but now he's on it. Now he's giving the thing a bit of punishment. Congratulations, Jamie. Everybody at Red Bull Racing Australia. Don't forget, we've got a post-race show to wrap it all up. We're going to have a chat to Jamie and everybody else. Garth Tanner, Shane Van Gisbergen will catch all the backstories. And for our New South Wales and Queensland viewers, we'll get you to change to 7, mate, for that. We'll remind you a little bit later on. Now, J-Dub made a mistake in Tasmania a few years ago when he was showing off. Keep it clean. Do not wipe it on the wall. His mate Will Davison managed to do that last year. Here we go. Signature J-Dub.
What he doesn't need to do is end up with the same engine problem as his teammate.
No.
That's not good.
That is not good. He's starting to get a bit of vertigo then. I'm glad he stopped all that. So the crowd really responding, loving all of that. It's a terrific performance. It was interesting, the strategy game between those guys and the Holden Racing team. But good tyre quality and a different strategy, and some young tyres really got it done for Jamie in the final analysis. To make it down to the stop area, we'll grab all the boys shortly. Gee, it's been a very hard, hot, busy weekend for these guys. And there'll be a few tired men out there after this exchange.
Well, that's the longest race ever at Townsville, so 250 Ks. Very physical racetrack too, Neil, isn't it? It's very compact.
There's no rest. He's on the march. He's on the march.
Yeah.
He gets very cranky with himself when it doesn't roll out the way that it should. But that was nice work. So on the Saturday in Darwin, couple of race wins. Yesterday, a race win. Today, a race win. Being able to repeat it is very important. It's race win number 7 for 2014. This man is on the march. Super Slow-Mo tells some of the story. Jamie Whincup gets home from Garth Tanner and Shane Van Gisbergen. It's a Holden Commodore 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then it is Mark Winterbottom, the first of the Fords, in position 6. It is time to go down to the stop area with Mark Beretta.
Hey Neil, this is a very happy Jamie Whincup. Some wins seem to mean more than others, and I think this is a special one for Jamie Whincup. Jamie, congratulations. When you really needed this one, you got it done. That's a beauty.
Yeah, that's pretty special, actually. It's always a huge event up here, and a bit of a, I always call it a home event. You know, we're just down the road in Brisbane, so the performance at a home event's huge. Car was obviously excellent. Good race there with GT at the end. That was a bit of a laugh, but I don't know if we had the right strategy or not, but we just did quali lap after quali lap and got there in the end.
A great effort, Jamie. Well done. Enjoy the podium.
Thanks very much.
Garth Tanner, great effort there, and as Jamie said, it was a great duel with him, but you guys this weekend have really reaped some benefit. This is a game changer.
Yeah, look, it was a good weekend, obviously. 2 seconds and a win. It's certainly our best weekend for the year, and guys have done an awesome job with the car, so I can't thank them enough. And, you know, everyone's been working so hard at HRT, and we've been saying that things are going to improve. And, you know, with JC, he's been on the money for most of the year, but with my car, it's great to actually be able to be out there and fight and actually have a bit of a battle with him for a little while. He certainly had the speed on us for that last part of the race, but really happy with second. Just want to send a hello to my mate Shane Cricky back in Perth. He had some bad news through the week, so we're thinking about you, buddy. And looking forward to the next one, Queensland Raceway. These blokes home track, but we'll go out there and give them a shake.
Oh, a booming comeback. Well done, GT.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
And Shane Van Gisbergen, boy, you've done it once again. You thrilled us in Darwin, you thrilled us here in Townsville. Well done.
Yeah, it was an awesome finish again. I didn't know whether those guys were going to be good on fuel, so I just had to chase them down. And it was great racing with Nick and James at the end there, but stoked to get on the podium again. Thanks to our sponsors, VIP, Lucas Oil. It's been a great weekend.
It is fantastic. There's some more good news. You are now 4th in the championship.
Yeah, long way to go, but that's great. We had a shocking round at Perth, and we've had 2 good rounds to back it up, so can't be more happy with this team. They've done a great job.
Well, you keep thrilling us, Shane. Well done. Enjoy the podium.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
So let's have a look at these results. It's been a very busy afternoon. We're all catching our breath. Jamie Whincup actually only got home by 0.9 of a second in the end. He rolled out of it so much. Garth had the lights on and was blazing, and he was sliding it through the final corner. But it was all about Whincup. Shane Van Gisbergen next, and then James Courtney, Nick Percat. Nice job, Mark Winterbottom. Looking further down the order, lots of tales to tell in here, Scafie. Fabian Coulthard be very disappointed with that. They just didn't fire at all this afternoon. They clearly missed the setup on that car for whatever reason. Things not happy in there, and there were 1 or 2 guys that just never recovered from their poor qualifying. Unfortunately for Jack Perkins and for Dale Wood, they had that drama in the opening lap down in turn 2.